Hello, everyone, and welcome to Boundaryless, where I'm very excited to be chatting with Nurisul Sirik, the co-founder and CEO of Remofirst, as we discuss freedom of work as the future of work. Nurisul, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Mac. Really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. So, of course, this is the Boundaryless conference, and we wish that you could be in San Francisco to join us in person, but we're extremely excited to have this conversation with you today around freedom of work as the future of work. But before we really jump into this interview, I would love if you could spend a few minutes explaining to our audience what Remofirst's core competencies are and why it's important for companies to utilize an employer of record when they're building globally distributed teams.
Sure, absolutely. So Remofirst, we are an employer record solution. So what it means is that we allow clients, companies to hire people globally without them setting up their own entities. And then we do that in 150 countries. Our main differentiation in the market is that we're the most cost-efficient solution in the market, and our pricing starts from just 199 USD per person per month. In terms of why employer record is important is I guess it's all about two factors. Number one is compliance, to making sure that every single person in every single country you hire in is fully compliant. You hire a person to an employment agreement, and then all taxes are paid, all the local rules are followed through, and then so on. And then that's the main importance of the employer record, is that you know that whenever you hire a person in any country in the world, you know it's fully compliant. And then when it comes to intellectual property belongs to you as a company and so on. And then that's the main part. But the second part is also about, I think we could touch that while we speak about future of work, but making sure that if you, let's say, a US based company, and then all your US employees are full-time employees, and the rest of the world you only hire contractors, how does that affect the relationship between employer and employee? What does do other your contractors, do they get any benefits or anything like that? So seeing if the talent would actually be interested of working for you if you hire them as contractors rather than full-time employees, where they get benefits like pensions, insurances, and so on. And that's something I think could be as an additional reason to hire through employer of record.
Absolutely. And of all the people that I've had the pleasure to chat with during these conversations, you probably have the most unique entrepreneurial journey. So I would love if you could chat a little bit with our audience and provide us with an overview, because you went from growing up in Kazakhstan to becoming the CEO of a Series A startup. And so I wanted to ask you, how did those experiences living and working in a variety of different countries and cultures influence your own decision to launch Remofirst?
Sure, absolutely. So I mean, I, I've, I've, as you said correctly, I was born in Kazakhstan. I lived most of my life in UK. Right now, I'm between London and San Francisco. But um, growing up in a country where there's not a lot of opportunities, you kind of forced to look for opportunities in different countries, and then that's, I think, something that was quite interesting for me to understand, that it is actually depending on where you're born, you can define what you can and cannot do, because not everyone can hire you, not everyone is looking to relocate you, and so on and so forth. And that, I think, something that I felt as a personal problem. But on top of that, while I was in the UK, I started a bunch of startups. Most of them failed. I had one exit, but all of my startups were remote first and bootstrapped. And then as a remote first founder, I've been in industry for 7+ years. And then for me, it was quite clear that being remote first allows you to get more kind of coverage in terms of the world. If you, let's say, work with customers from different countries in the world, then if you hire remote employees in different continents, then that you can cover different parts of your business. But on top of that is just the availability of the talent in different countries. I think that what fascinated me, and then I think it was just easier to do that. But the final step, I think, to that as well, is that as a bootstrap founder, you want to um, kind of try and be cost efficient as possible. And then hiring globally allows you that as well, because um, the salaries that you pay in San Francisco, London are different than in the rest of the world. But at the same time, it doesn't mean, I think, just tapping into that, it doesn't mean that if you pay exactly the same amounts in San Francisco or the other countries, it is equal as well, because if you think about it, people pay more taxes, the cost of living is different. So it needs to be the quite a few things you need to take into account as well. So, but in terms of my entrepreneurial journey and then how it led to Remofirst is that being a remote first founder myself, knowing the problems of my customers and then understanding the possibilities of this world, it definitely something that impacted me and then allowed me to see that being a remote first is a way kind of way in the future, right? Way forward is that's the only way I saw it happening.
Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense. And you were talking about the discussions that you've had with your team, and throughout various moments in your entrepreneurial journey, but having discussions around this profound, this permanent civilizational shift. So what we now refer to as boundaryless work, but for centuries it was boundaried work at dedicated times in offices within close proximity to one's home. And now we are in this new area of boundaryless work where, as you mentioned, professionals, they have the ability to work on their own schedule from anywhere in the world, as long as they have internet access. So how is boundaryless work, or the freedom of work, impacting the future of the tech industry from the lens where you sit as a CEO?
That's a good question. I think to any CEO of the company, and then for me in particular, I see remote work as an must have for anyone who wants to set up a successful company. And then I think I touched upon a few reasons is, as I said, it's all about being able to serve different clients in different parts of the world as a business need, where we as Remofirst, we have customers in every part of the world, every part of the continent, and then they need to be served. And then finding people close to that time zone, finding people in that area, it's only possible if you do that remote. And then on top of that, I think the remote work allows a lot of flexibility, and then there's always a debate if it's the work-life balance is there or not. But what I feel, to be honest, and then hearing from colleagues and everyone, is that it actually has a work-life balance, because you now have an opportunity to have I know, a breakfast, a lunch, and dinner with your family. Versus if you were in the office, you could probably only have a breakfast, even if you had time with your family, and then you can spend time with your kids, and then all of it together with being able to work from wherever you are. And I think that's a fundamental shift in civilization, as you said. It is already there. There's no way back, and then people already know that it is something which is possible, and then nothing fundamentally changed in terms of output and performance. I would say we don't see that companies started working bad or people started not working because they're working from home. And then I think those type of things are just the things that you need to get over and then understand that this is not a bad thing. This is something that will allow you to move fast to, and then I think just talking only about the business, right? First is being able to serve customers from different parts of the world. Second is that the talent that you can find globally is just it's just crazy. Like you don't even think of finding, like recently we helped one of our clients to help hire a person in Nepal and Trinidad and Tobago and many other countries. And then those type of things, I think that's just amazing. And then for me, even as a founder, I'm from Kazakhstan, and we hire people from Kazakhstan as well. And then that would have never happened if we didn't have something as an employer of record or allowing people to work remotely.
So you mentioned Kazakhstan, and members of your executive team, they're dispersed across the U.S., Europe. Most of your development team is in Kazakhstan. So how do you ensure that there's a true culture of collaboration among your team at Remofirst when you have so many of your employees working across different time zones and they're accustomed to very different workplace cultures?
That's a very timely question, because I think a lot of companies who become remote started to realize that, hey, they want some serendipity of meeting the right people at the right time. They need the water cooler moments. They need that aha moments, and then so on. And then they feel a lack of it. And then that's where I think there are a lot of tools on how you can get the serendipity in the remote kind of environment. But what worked for us the most, I think for me in particular as the CEO of the company, is to make sure that if we have such a distributed team, we have team members in 8 countries and then 12 time zones, right? And then for us to be able to accommodate everyone, it's hard to bring everyone to one place and then doing a yearly retreat. That's something we want to do maybe next year. But before that, in order to align everyone, different departments, I think what you can do as a solution potentially to create some type of hubs, where you can have a hub for engineering in one time zone, a hub for sales in another time zone, and so on. And then again, those type of things will help a little bit. But most importantly, I think what you can do is to make sure that you go to a part of the world and then bring people close to that part. So when we did in Kazakhstan, we brought everyone close to Kazakhstan, and then did a bit of a team building event. And then we also did a team building event in Boston, where we brought in people from the US, we brought in people from Europe, and then everyone gathered in Boston, for example. And then that's something I think that allows your company to create that serendipity in real life, to meet each other face to face, but at the same time, to be able to kind of understand who is who in the company and then feel that human factor. So that's one part of it, how to humanize it. But on top of that, not even doing that, you definitely have different tools. I think everything is available now. If you want to create a serendipity, I think in Slack there is a nice add-on called Donut, right? And then you randomly get a call with someone in your company, and then that essentially is your water cooler chat or elevator chat or whatever it is. And then I think, I mean, it's tough to say that there are different people who feel that they need to be in the office, and then there's no way to explain to them how and why it's not the only way. But I think there needs to be a little bit of training, and then because it's a new thing, and I'm not surprised a lot of people don't know how to do it properly. And I think that's why having a remote work expert in the team is crucial. Someone who can tell you, "Hey guys, these are the tools and tips and tricks that we used," and then it will be useful for everyone to try that, and then that's essentially I think something that would help out a lot.
I couldn't agree more. And we've talked about return to office. You just mentioned that there are quite a few folks who still enjoy being able to come to the office. But how do you anticipate the freedom of work evolving as we move into the coming years, the next 5-10 years? As again, some employers are mandating that there will be partial return to offices or full-time return to offices, and others are fully committed to a remote workplace culture, as Remofirst is, as Turing is, obviously. But I guess my question for you is, like, what does that future of work look like from where you sit? Do you see like any commonalities, like regardless of whether a company is encouraging full-time remote work, hybrid work, a return to office? Like, how do you see that future of work and that freedom of work evolving as we get into the next 5 years?
So for that, I think there's obviously a lot of different ideas of how it could evolve. What I obviously would love to see some type of technological advancements as well, where I know you could have a holograms and so on that will help you to feel and see people in different worlds. Not talking about metaverses and everything, right? But if we take away those technological advancements, which I think will definitely help remote work, I think what I can see in terms of practical standpoint is that there's something people call hybrid work, where I actually have my own definition for that, where hybrid work for me doesn't mean that you need to go back to office. Hybrid work for me means you have an opportunity to go to an office anytime you want, because there are different types of personalities. So There are people who are okay to work from home, and there are people who cannot concentrate at home because they have kids. Their flats are not big enough to have everyone in the same place. They don't have a dedicated space. So that's when someone needs to have an opportunity to go to a co-working, to their office, and then being able to work from wherever they want. And then that's where I feel that co-working style, or a hot desk, or whatever you want to call them, or dedicated offices that you have in different um, countries in the world, it's crucial, where your team members can come in once a week, again voluntarily, if they're willing to come in, and then if they want to come in, and then work from there. And then I think the most important thing about this type of culture is to make sure that you can create something that works for everyone, to have that flexibility. It doesn't have to be you all need to go back to the office, or it doesn't have to be everyone needs to only stay at home. There needs to be a middle ground. I don't think everything is just in black and white. Everything can be flexible, and then those things will help a lot. And then I myself, I like to work from home, but I have multiple of my teammates who really need to go to the office, and then feel that they went there, they did their work, and they come back, and then that's how it finished for them, you know. But it as I said, it depends on the personality. That's why having that flexibility is very important. Having those essentially co-working space is very important as well.
I couldn't agree more. I think that there's always a time to, as you said, go to a co-working space, or spend some time outside of your home office. But again, especially since we started the pandemic, there have been quite a few people who certainly aren't going to be returning to offices anytime soon, because they appreciate the flexibility of remote work, and no longer having to commute back and forth to the office. So it's very much a boundaryless future. We really appreciate you being here for this conversation. So Russell Sarek, co-founder, CEO of Remofirst, thanks so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully next year in San Francisco in person.
Thank you so much, Max. It was a pleasure. Really excited to be here, and then thank you so much for the time.
Of course, thank you.